Ten,
Stand by
nine,
to take studio.
7, 6,
Stand by
5,
camera 1, mics 1 and 2.
3, 2, 1.
Take studio.
Good afternoon, MCHS, and welcome to yet another packed episode of MCTV. I'm Tim Evans. On today's show, we'll have a look at the recent Spirit of the North Karate Tournament and a look at the future commute route through town. But before that, our top story. Roger Champagne was the original support truck driver for the Roger Champagne Memorial Bike Trip. He was unfortunately killed in Las Vegas, and ever since, the Roger Champagne Memorial Bike Trip has taken students to the Rockies to bike from Lake Louise to Jasper every year. Students ride in Roger's honor, and every year, one student rides a bike awarded by Roger's family. This year, Larissa Jones won the bike. Here's Amy Lung with this story.
On May 13th, the bike trip presentation announced the winner of 2013 for their hard work and dedication. Every year for the bike trip, there will always be a free bike given to the students that were supplied by Lorette Champagne and Cranky's Bike Shop. The bike trip isn't just about winning a new bike, but also a great opportunity to see beautiful sceneries and stay fit.
Roger Champagne's name, lives on in the community, and he was so caring and gave so much of his time to the youth of the community, and he built a trailer, and I mean, to have that name still live on with children today, and it's amazing to see that, and I've been truly honored to be a part of this trip now for about 15 years. So yeah, it's awesome.
Well, if it wasn't for the program, I think a lot of these kids, a couple of things. It gets you in shape, number one, because you don't travel 220 kilometers in 3 days by just jumping on a bike and start. You've got to prepare for it. So it's good for the kid health-wise, mentally-wise, and it's a good program.
The bike trip is a memorial of the family's deceased member, Roger Champagne, a memory of their hard work and effort that continued this traditional bike trip and to spread their passion for biking.
The biggest thing about the bike trip is, they're learning to be able to overcome obstacles and, to do something that maybe they didn't think that was possible for them to do. I mean, it seems very, when you say, okay, I'm going to cycle 220 kilometers in 3 days, that seems pretty big. And a lot of kids, it seems very daunting, but then they rise to the challenge and overcome it. And they can take those lessons into real life with them, overcoming obstacles and challenges in their real life.
Good for the student. It does a couple of things. It's good for the student personally, and it gives them a chance to get out and see the mountains. Some of these kids have never seen the mountains before, and to be able to bike through the mountains and get into Jasper, it's it's a real tourist place. It's perfect.
This is Amy Lung reporting for MCTV.
France, Italy, two countries that radiate class and character. To talk more about the 2014 spring break trip to Europe, joining me now is Morinville's European adventurer, Mrs. Rosie Krulak. Mrs. Krulak, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Oh, you're very welcome, Timothy, and I'm excited about our upcoming trip.
Well, that's great. You should be. So, why Europe? Why do you keep going back to Europe?
Europe is our cultural history. Far more than anything here in North America. When we go, we see the remnants of our history. We see where our soldiers have fought. Mm-hmm. And this trip is a little different than the other ones in that we've typically gone with commemorative ceremonies. We've done the Liberation of Netherlands trip, which you were fortunate to join on. I still recall you sitting right at the front of the bus there and asking all sorts of interesting questions. And we've done the Ortona trip. And then the last trip that you also joined us on was to Central Europe. Mm-hmm. And we did Auschwitz, which was a very somber experience. Yeah. So this year we're going to go, next year, 2014, we're going to go more with the cultural, the achievements of humanity, the Renaissance, like the cultural experience. Perhaps a wee bit of shopping too.
Oh, that's always good for the girls. So what can students expect when they go on this trip?
Well, we land in Paris, and almost immediately we'll go and see the Louvre. So we'll see the usual Mona Lisa, the Venus de Milo. We'll take a tour of the Notre Dame Cathedral. We're doing the Eiffel Tower. We'll go possibly even below this time, which we didn't go on the last trip.
Okay.
Yes. And we'll do a Seine River cruise in the evening. And we're also exploring looking at the catacombs. Not too many people realize the catacombs where the ancient Christians buried their dead is to be found in Paris. And in some ways, they're actually even more interesting than the ones that you find in Italy, in Rome area. So we're hoping to arrange for that.
Okay, so if students want more info, they can always contact you for all that.
That's right.
Okay.
And after that, we go on to Italy. We fly into Venice and then canals and the sites there. We'll go on to Ferrara, which is known as the city of the Renaissance, where it began. But also it has pretty neat medieval architecture too. We'll go through the city of Bologna, which was the site of the first university in Europe. We'll go on to Florence, to Assisi, to Perugia. Are we out of time?
Almost, yeah. Okay. So for more info, they can always contact you if they want to know more about the trip.
Yes, or Mrs. YQ as well, that's right. So 2014, 13 days of amazing scenery and culture.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show today, Mrs. Krulak. Really enjoyed having you here.
You're welcome.
All right. So DeSauce School of Karate hosted the annual Spirit of the North Karate Tournament, which ran from April 29th to May 5th. Students received first-class lessons from Master Shinjo, who came from Japan for the tournament. We sent MCTV reporter Tony Null to give us an inside look.
DeSauce Karate hosted their annual Spirit of the North tournament at Service Center on May 4th of this year. I went and got a spectator's view for you viewers here at MCTV.
The karate I teach is a traditional Okinawan form of martial art. And it's based on the movements. The movements are based on the movements of animals many years ago, hundreds of years ago. And now it's just a practice that's used to keep people in good shape and teach people. One benefit is, of course, self-defense, but most of us are not going to need self-defense in our life, so you have to look at all the other benefits that you get from the martial arts.
Learn defensive techniques, strikes, punches, blocks, kicks, but you also learn things like self-discipline, self-respect, respect for others, how to kind of uphold yourself in society and in your day-to-day life.
Spirit of the North is just a name we came up with for this tournament. This is I think it's our 18th annual event, and basically I've modeled that event on a big event that I used to go to in the United States when I first started my karate training. And it was basically where you bring instructors from around the world so that your students can be exposed to different people teaching the same art.
It's nice that we now also have people from different dojos coming and competing with us. It's nice to meet new people and to see what their karate looks like.
They all start from different instructors, different ideas. They're all good. All styles they're still around. So with them still being around, there's not one that's better or worse than the other. Just different. Spirit of the North is a tournament that is mostly Uechi-Ryu. It's put on by a Uechi-Ryu dojo. However, we do invite other students from different styles to come compete. It makes for more fun at the tournament, better competition, get to compete against people that you don't know.
And then I did a different style of karate for a couple of years. Then I discovered this style of karate with a good teacher in Edmonton. And I was with him for about 20 years. And then the last 4 or 5 years I've picked an Okinawan teacher, famous Okinawan teacher.
I think that Spirit of the North really demonstrates what karate is about. And not only karate, but like the North American spirit, the Canadian spirit of karate. And it's nice to see everybody have a very friendly competition.
There's two different main components of a competition. There's the kata component, which is a demonstration of a pattern. Sort of, I would compare it maybe similar to gymnastics, where you have a routine, you perform that routine, and judges give you marks. The other component to competition is kumite, sparring. It's a little bit more open as far as styles go. Kumite is kumite from style to style. They're very similar. It's point sparring, so it's kind of like a game of tag with punches and kicks. So the person, you're not trying to hurt the other person. It's not any crazy MMA stuff. It's trying to get in, punch or kick the other person before they can react or block or do anything like that.
The divisions are by rank and by age, so and female and male depending on the age. So when you have younger kids, male and female might be blended together for our white belts and yellow belts 6 years old. And then once you get into teens and adults, you get female, male, you'll get color belts and then black belts and above.
After the tournament, a ceremony was held in the dojo.
We kind of call it the sayonara banquet. Sayonara meaning goodbye in Japanese. And they tend to do that in Okinawa in Japan. When the guests are coming, when guests are leaving, they usually have some kind of dinner farewell. And so the banquet is kind of saying a way to students get together to reminisce about the week and the tournament and how much fun the whole training was all week and how thankful we are for having the guests here. And it's our way of saying goodbye to the guests that came and took time out of their lives to be with us for the week.
From MCTV, this has been Anthony Nault reporting.
Roller coasters are meant to stay in amusement parks, not in meteorology. Summer-like conditions during the weekend, which I'm not complaining about, but it seems like we're going to cool off midweek.
Yeah, Tim, they are. They're actually supposed to cool off in some parts of the area, but for now, we'll look at some of the weather we have for this coming up. So Whitehorse and Yellowknife in Regina and Winnipeg and other parts of the other area here are going to be sun with partial clouds, and down in Vancouver it's going to be raining and not really good for down up in Iqaluit. It's going to be snow pretty much, and in Toronto some thunderstorms with some rain, and otherwise most of the area is just going to be sun and clouds, and overall it's going to be a normal weather cycle usually around this time of year. So if you look at the provincial weather down in Alberta, high level would be 11 with some rain. Fort McMurray is pretty much in Alberta is going to be some rain and some thunderstorms, and also in Grand Prairie, those two places going to be thunderstorm and rain. But otherwise, it's going to be sunny and mostly lots of sun in Calgary, and the high is supposed to be in Madison Hat at 24. But otherwise in Edmonton, it's going to be just sun and partial clouds, and it's going to be looking really nice overall in some parts of the areas. Now if you look at current conditions, it's 15 degrees, still again with some sun and partial clouds, and looks like it's going to be really nice. And if you look at the weekly weather, we got for Wednesday, going to be nice and sunny with some clouds. Friday and Saturday, not too good. But otherwise it's going to be a little not that chilly, but it's going to be kind of good. Otherwise it's going to be a nice week. So we'll be back to you after this commercial break.
Over 4 million crashes are caused by distracted drivers in North America.
I stuttered a lot.
Drivers have less than half a second to react to a collision. 20 to 30% of accidents are caused by distracted drivers.
Distracted drivers are more likely to crash than attentive drivers.
Thumbs down to texting and driving. Don't do it.
Does math affect you or a loved one? Math affects millions of people each day. People might tell you you need to do it, or it will be important later on. Don't listen to these remarks. They are a common argument for a terrible thing. Your friends might encourage you to try it, and they'll tell you it's worth it and can even be fun.
Hey, talking to you. Hey, want to come over and study some algebra?
I can't. I have family over. They'll do it in groups. Peer pressure is bad. Just say no. I'm playing COD right now. It will be tempting, but will cause a lot of stress in the long run. And even if a trusted friend offers you a math problem, you never know where it really came from. The best way to resist the temptation is to preoccupy yourself with other things. Good examples are video games, TV, and Facebook. Your friends and teachers will call this procrastination.
You're just a procrastinator, man.
That's just slang for people who don't do math. If you follow this advice, you'll be safe from the war on math.
Look at the upcoming events here at MCHS. Roger Champagne Memorial Bike Trip takes off tomorrow for Lake Louise. good luck and have fun for all the riders. We look forward to hearing from your adventures when you get back home. The first annual MCHS Olympics will be held Wednesday, May 29th. Support your team by wearing your team's colors every Wednesday this month. And while I'm on the topic, I would like to mention that the red team rules. For these and all kinds of school events, keep connected by watching the daily announcements, logging onto the school's website at www.mchs.gsacred.ab.ca, or follow us on Twitter at mchs_wolves, or by searching hashtag MCTV News.
Go Red. Anyways, Main Street could look very different in the near future, as the town of Morinville and the province are planning to install several roundabouts to ease traffic congestion and making driving through town easier for commuters. We sent reporter Amy Lung to investigate this new infrastructure that promises to change the town for the better and the beautiful.
On Thursday, April 24th, the town of Morinville hosted a functional planning open house at the Community Cultural Center to allow residents to see the future vision of the 100th Avenue and development of the downtown business core. Among the ideas presented is the eventual creation of roundabouts on major intersections along the roadway as the community continues to grow over the next 3/4 of a century. It is hoped these roundabouts will allow for better traffic flow in the decades to come. However, as town officials explain, there will also be immediate advantages as well.
We know how important it is to get that plan going so that we can have some economic development, because right now there's too much uncertainty with developers who want to develop property along 100th Avenue.
If you want to develop something on a piece of land that you own, you have to get approval from Alberta Transportation, and you have to get approval from the town of Morinville. They each require different things. What has been happening on 100th Avenue is that it's been sort of falling behind. A lot of new investment and redevelopment has been taking place on 100th Street, which doesn't have the same kind of restrictions as 100th Avenue does currently. So we're trying to create an environment where the downtown will start to catch up and redevelop, and so it'll become a place where people want to shop down there, they want to live down there. It'll be a really vibrant place.
Once we get this plan in place, it doesn't mean that roundabouts are going in tomorrow. What it means is that there's certainty for economic development, and somebody can develop a property because they know what the rules are.
Among the over 100 residents who attended the open house, reviews were mixed. Many individuals felt that the roundabouts were not needed in the community and tax dollars could better be spent elsewhere. However, for at least one attendee, the plan is a move in the right direction and ultimately boils down to two things.
Is it an improvement? Yes. Safety? Definitely. They start putting out some traffic lights, or at least some signal lights for pedestrian crossings. Very important. We're lacking some of those right now. Presentation was very good, very knowledgeable people here, and a little bit one-sided on the audience. I think there were more against than for. So those who are against are voicing their opinion. Those who are for are probably just sitting at home waiting for it to happen.
Yes, there will be a period of adjustment, but I believe over time that adjustment will be made, and I think people will see them as normal in a very short period of time.
Once people understand how roundabouts work, for pedestrians, for traffic, it slows traffic down, easier access for pedestrians away from the intersection. It makes things a lot safer, and I think people will accept that, and it'll be good for the town of Morinville.
I think it allows for a street that would be very vibrant. It would be much easier to develop on the street. It will be pedestrian friendly. It will be safer, and I think it's the kind of downtown Main Street that Morinville would be very well served by. I think the Main Street of Morinville has a great deal of potential.
This is Amy Lang reporting for MCTV.
Coming up on the May 29th episode of Morinville's #1 news source, we'll have a look at the MCHS Coffee House, a look at the Skills Alberta competition, and an investigation into the physics involved in cooking marshmallows. All that and your weather team forecast on our May 29th program. That's our show for today. How's the weather shaping up, Bo?
It's going to get a little iffy, but otherwise it's going to turn up into our normal cycle of weather during the season.
All right, I guess I can deal with that.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, that's our show for today. Thanks for tuning in to MCHS. For all of us here at MCTV, I'm Tim Evans.
And of course, I'm Bo Weatherby.
Have a good one, MCHS, and remember, keep it classy, Morinville.